so much for joining us. We have a really, really exciting panel today that I could not be more excited to share with you with our first series of Share series. This is something that we're putting together to just bring back and to learn. And it's about lifestyle and it's about people and business. And today, being Women's Day, we're starting our first series with some pretty extraordinary women that I'm very excited to introduce you all to. And it's going to be a lot of fun to hear some of these amazing stories, what they've done in business, what they've accomplished in business. And it's just, really, really important part, of our lives. I'm Mauricio Umansky. I'm the CEO of the agency. For me, supporting women is one of the most important things. As some of you may or may not know, I have 4 daughters. I have a wife. I have 4 female dogs. I am just surrounded by women. I could not be more proud than to have, Rainey Hake Austin. I gave her the keys to our business, the agency, almost 2 years ago now, I think. We've been doing an extraordinary job. So thank you all for joining, and let's just, get right into the panel and to learning, about these amazing, 4 women that we have today. I'm going to start off by just asking you each to introduce yourselves. If you don't mind, then I'll start off just on my screen with, left to right. And Tina, why don't you start?
Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Tina Nekrasen. I'm the Executive Vice President of Residential at Montage International.
Thank you. And Julia, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Hunter. I'm the CEO of Jenni Kayne, which is a lifestyle brand based in Los Angeles. And we have a beauty brand called Oak Essentials as well.
Congratulations. Reagan.
Morning, everybody. My name's Reagan Moyer-Jones. I am the CEO, the co-founder and ex-CEO of Aiden and Anae, and the author of the book What It Takes.
And finally, Rainey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mo. Rainey Hake Austin. I'm the president at the agency, and we are a lifestyle international company that focuses on real estate. And we have residential, commercial, new development, core services, global franchises. So really great to be here with everyone today.
Well, thank you, guys. And thank you, ladies. And my kids always laugh at me because because I'm surrounded by women all the time. I always say girls, ladies. So when they have their boyfriends over, I'm always calling them girls. I'm always calling them ladies. And so I've got this little thing where I go gals. Instead of guys, I go gals. But anyway, Rainey, let's start with you a little bit. You began your career climbing the ranks, from executive vice president to COO of a Northern California luxury brokerage, to heads of operation West at Compass, and now the president of the agency. Tell us about your inspiring journey and, how you got there.
Yeah, it's been over a quarter of a century now, Mo, that I've been in real estate. I fell into it at a particularly young age. I never fell out. And I feel like that's the story for a lot of people in real estate. But for me, I'm a real estate broker and I've never actually sold real estate. So I really did fall in on the marketing and operations side, and I fell in love with it. And I was only 15. It was supposed to be a summer job. I came in and I was like, oh, you guys are still using index cards and typing things on typewriters. Like, I think I could help you figure that out differently and better. And I just got so inspired by trying to be creative and innovative. I just worked my way up the operational ladder, doing property management, opening up the sales division. And then I went to college and worked full-time and went to school full-time, commuting from Santa Cruz to Berkeley, got my degree at UC Berkeley, and then left my published role after 7 years and went to work at the bottom of the rung again instead of marketing, because I thought I wanted to parlay my real estate career into a marketing career. And of course, I graduated the downturn in the market. So I went to work for an amazing brand called Alana Pinnell Realtors in Northern California. And I did the same thing again, marketing coordinator, marketing manager, VP of marketing. And then I decided to take a sabbatical, and I went to Oxford and got my MBA in international business and an emphasis in international marketing and strategy. and again, graduated during the downturn in the 2008, 2009, and was lucky enough to do some amazing consulting work for some great brands. But eventually Lonspanel created a role for me that I just couldn't turn down. They brought me back and had me oversee all aspects of operations, eventually became the EVP and COO for Lonspanel, ran the company in total for about 17 years before we basically were the 5th largest real estate company in the country, doing over $12.5 billion of real estate a year. And we had a big target on our back to be acquired by a growing brokerage called Compass, who came in, and they had me stay on and oversee all the integration of all the companies that they had acquired, and maybe head of operations for the West Coast, which gave me an opportunity to learn and grow so much and take then what I had learned at being a boutique marketer and manager, and then getting to run a big conglomeration. And then I had the fantastic opportunity of meeting you, Mauricio, and Billy, and the founding members of the agency. And I had the best of both worlds come together for me, an opportunity to come over to the agency about 2.5 years ago, it is now, and become the president, which was a great opportunity to take the luxury real estate, the management, the operations, the global experience, and take everything that had been built at the agency over the first decade and say, how can we take this to the next level and really grow the brand, grow the international strategy? And it's been an amazing ride. The people, the brand, the culture have been incredible. And that's my journey. And that's where I am. And I love it, and wouldn't be any other place.
Well, thank you so much for that. And that's a pretty impressive journey. And I'm so excited to hear a little bit more about, how you ladies all, climbed the rank, particularly in a time where being a woman is just so different and so important. But I'm going to take this over to Reagan now. Having 4 daughters, my wife, Kyle, and I were very familiar with your brand, Aiden and Anae.
Yeah.
We have it all over my house. I'm very proud to say that. You began your entrepreneurial journey from your kitchen table and went on to build one of the most widely recognized baby brands. Tell us about how you grew your vision into a $100 million global business, and what took you there, or anything you want to share with us.
Well, I also have 4 daughters, Mo, Anae being my eldest and the namesake of the company. So she was the inspiration for the first muslin swaddle that I introduced into America. But so I was born and raised in Australia and moved over to the States for what was supposed to be 2 years back in 1998. And I had Anae, my first daughter, in New York. And I went looking for these muslin blankets that were incredibly common back home in Australia. Like literally there wasn't a baby pram that you didn't see one on. And no one had even heard of muslin in the States. And I thought, well, every Aussie parent can't have this wrong. So I'm sure that if I introduce it into the US, it would be as popular there as it was in Australia. And lucky for me, that was the case. And turned out that for some reason, only Aussies knew about muslin swaddles. So that opened up the world for me. So I sort of sprinted and ended up with offices in Japan, in France, in London, in Canada, sort of all over. And yeah, so I started the business. I was working in sales at The Economist. I'd been there for 10 years when Anae was born, and she was really the inspiration for the business. And I stayed working at The Economist until I had the idea in 2003 for the business when Anae was born, and then left The Economist in 2008. And the reason I left to run the business full time is because I just hit the $1 million revenue mark and picked up the target account. So I figured it was safe to jump ship at that point. Having read statistically that only 3% of all women-owned businesses ever actually break $1 million in revenue, which is crazy to think about. But I thought, well, given I've done that, I've done something that 97% of other entrepreneurs aren't able to do. So I'll give this a go and do it full time. And that was the beginning of what was a 10-year run. I brought in investors though, which didn't go well, but that's for a different conversation. And yeah, so no longer running the business, but I'm still a shareholder in the business, and still continues to be, as you say, a loved brand globally in the baby space.
It is definitely a love brand globally, and it's just so exciting to take the plunge and do something extraordinary and be an entrepreneur. It's not a lot of people that have that opportunity to do that. And it takes a lot of risks, and it takes a lot of and again, particularly being a woman, I think it just makes it even harder. As you said, only 3% of the women break that. So congratulations. And you have a beautiful accent. And thank you for joining us from Australia, from down under at 5 a.m. So that's pretty awesome. Julia, California native, right? And just absolutely love it. Tell us a little bit about Jenni Kayne, which Forbes recently called the ultimate California lifestyle brand, and how you have grown the revenue from am I reading this correct? From $3 million to $100 million in just 1 year, 2021 alone. How did you navigate that incredible
not
growth?
Right. Not that it hasn't been that fast. No.
Okay, got it.
Close to it. I'm happy to share. Yes. So I've been with the company. I started my career in investment banking. So in college I studied econ and wanted to go into finance and love Excel. It's still my happy place to make spreadsheets. So I started in investment banking, doing mergers and acquisitions in the tech space in San Francisco. I'm from the Bay Area originally. Moved to New York after doing that for a couple years, and in New York I kind of fell into fashion. So I worked at a few places, J. Crew, Louis Vuitton, and then some smaller brands like Loeffler Randall. Really jumped around a lot, kind of not finding any place that felt like I really wanted it to be home. I was a little scared that I was going to be the person who couldn't stay in one place for more than 2 years. But now I've been with Jenni Kayne for 9, so we've disproven that. But moved back to California because my husband and I, he's in real estate development out here. And so we knew we wanted to come back full time to California after 7 years in New York. And Jenni Kayne had existed for 13 years before I joined. And Jenni herself just is truly kind of the new Ralph Lauren, in my opinion. And I think it's been very clear that she's had this kind of handwriting that goes across categories. So I saw her when I lived in New York. She was in Architectural Digest, her home in Beverly Hills, and it was the most beautiful thing I could ever imagine. And I really saw the opportunity to kind of marry these different categories, which at the time no one was doing very well. So I came out for the then president. I worked for her for a while. It was a rocky, unpleasant start, but eventually things didn't work with her. And I kind of just built relationships with the team and really tried to make a plan for how to scale Jenni Kayne. And so we started growing, and it wasn't 3 to 100. It was 3 and a couple of years of slower growth, and then we got to 8, and then it really started accelerating. So we did 8 in 2018, and then we tripled to 24, and then we did 50, and then 102, and last year we just hit 135. So now it's a big company. It's super fun. We have apparel is about 70% of our revenue. Home is around 20% of our revenue, and then beauty, which we just launched, Oak Essentials, is around 10. And it's just a really great brand. Everybody's, I'm a partner in the company with Jenni and her dad, who kind of founded it together a long time ago. They're LA natives, and we've had a lot of fun. It's fun to be on this panel, particularly just because we've done some fun projects in real estate, and have done Jenni Kayne Homes, which my husband has been involved with a lot, so it's been scrappier than it might seem. But the real estate piece is really fun for us, just to kind of complete the lifestyle, and that's one of our Jenni and my favorite parts of the company, I think, is doing the home stuff. So
well, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like I need to meet your husband.
No, you should, yeah.
I'm always doing business, guys. I can't stop doing that. That's just part of my world. Well, finally, Tina, I'm a huge, fan and guest of, the Montage. You're responsible for the success of the Montage Residential Properties, which I believe is one of the very best hospitality brands and private residence collections in the world. Please tell us a little bit about your path to holding and held leadership roles with international brands like Hilton Worldwide, Marriott International, the Ritz-Carlton, and what has been the driving force for your success?
Thank you for that nice introduction. Yes, I've certainly had a tremendous opportunity over my career, starting essentially right out of college. I started in marketing also, which is still always my passion at the core. Reagan, I think you likely share the same. But it's really spanned throughout all different aspects of mixed use development, and mainly driven in the hospitality space. You mentioned some of the larger corporations that I've been part of over the years, which really launched my career in particular with a Marriott at a time when the industry was growing rapidly in the shared ownership space and the whole ownership space. So I was fortunate enough to be part of so many different aspects of the business, from marketing and sales to business planning and asset management, both, in the United States and internationally, which was just incredible opportunities across the board, in a really vibrant culture and vibrant business and industry. And, having worked then for other luxury brands as well, being able to see other aspects of the business from the lens of, I worked for the developer, I worked for operator, I worked for lenders. I've really had a chance to do all of it. So it's been so interesting being at Montage and, leading up to that, not only the work that I had done in so many different facets and projects, but also the relationships that I had developed along the way really led me to Montage almost 10 years ago now, and where I'm responsible for about $5 billion is our ever-growing portfolio continues in all aspects of the residential business. So it's all the planning and the selling and the servicing, the strategy and the execution around that, alongside an incredible team. So I have a lot on the horizon for the future, but the early milestones have really driven me to where I am today, and a lot more to come.
Amazing. Well, ladies, I know firsthand it's not easy to build a brand, and to build an international brand. And so you ladies have all done an impeccable and incredible job doing that. And it's all new brands. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do in business, is to build a brand, right? Like, we can all build a business that builds widgets and sells things, but building brand is a completely different story. So congratulations on all of what you girls have done. I'm curious, and in no particular order, you guys can choose how you want to answer this, but as female leaders who have climbed the ranks to the tops, what have been some of the greatest challenges you've experienced, and how did you overcome them?
I'll jump in. If the other ladies agree, I'll kick it off. For me, I've worked in a male-dominated industry my whole career. So certainly there are challenges around circumstances and boardroom tables and different situations. But, having a real path and strategy around how to navigate around that has been, I think, instrumental. We have obstacles in the way all the time, all different kinds. And it's been really beneficial to always take a look at something and figure out the best way to get around it or to overcome it altogether. And by doing that, I think I've had the opportunity to really work at a higher potential for myself, because I'm fearless about it coming into those situations. And not only that, but doing more listening than talking, and really navigating and bridging the gap with, power of persuasion, whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, or that I've been trying to accomplish over time in certain roles with a lot of different stakeholders. I mentioned some of the different areas that in disciplines I've worked in, and everyone has different objectives and agendas in mind. So for me, it's always been about having a great foundation and doing great work all of the time, while strategically navigating around a lot of different scenarios, and taking some of those learnings and things that didn't work and taking them with me to apply later on, and just always having the mindset that it's okay to take some risks. And at the end of the day, the work has to be great, and you have to be passionate about it, and surround yourself with incredible people and a great support system, whether it's, family or the team. those that you're leading, those that you collaborate with, and that sets the tone for everything moving forward.
Beautiful.
I agree with that, Tina. I'll just jump in, Mo, if that's okay. It's
Please.
very similar. You'd think, similar to Tina, that you'd think that real estate, because so many real estate agents are female, and it kind of almost started in many outposts in the world that, it'd be moms who are getting into real estate because they had flexible schedules and whatnot. But as the real estate industry has evolved, particularly brokerage and brokerage management, it is, again, very male dominated when it comes to the upper and middle management tiers. And I don't think that I was always even super knowledgeable and intentional about it as being younger, but always knowing that I was working harder and smarter than anyone around me, but just because I was so passionate about what I was doing. But in retrospect, really understanding that I had to probably work a bit harder to earn the respect and trust of those around me, because if people don't respect and trust you, it's hard for you to lead them. And also to manage up and down the organization, as Tina was sort of alluding to, and the skills that you build and learning to build consensus and being able to go into a boardroom or go into an office or into, all the top CEOs around the globe, and being not only the only female, but by far the youngest by decades, more often than not. It was funny, Mo, this weekend, the girls, I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at home, and they were asking, Mommy, what's your favorite princess? And I was like, I like Cinderella. They're like, why do you like Cinderella? And I said, because she has this hope that her dreams will come true, but she works hard at the idea of working hard and believing in something and working toward that. And that was certainly my story, which was just like, I always had this vision of what I wanted to be as I got older. And it wasn't the specificity of like a real estate executive, but like what my life would look like, what it would be filled with, and always holding that at the center of what you do. And then knowing that however I did that, I wanted to do it my way. Like, so often I would be able to see female executives who were exhibiting a lot of like male counterpart traits because they felt like that was how they had to succeed. They had to be like those around them. And I took great pride in trying to do it in an authentic way where I could bring my own talents to the table and not try to be like everybody else, but really be a creative, strategic thinker, but also be a very empathetic leader. Like, my people come first in everything I do. And I always make sure that that's at the center, which means that I learned to check my ego at the door at a really, early stage in my career. But that doesn't mean that you don't let your light shine, right? It just means that, like, it doesn't always have to be your idea, and not that you have to stand in anyone else's shadow, but it's about allowing others to shine with you, trusting your instincts, being comfortable in the uncomfortable, because that's often where the magic happens. Mo says this all the time, but like being able and willing to fail, but do it quickly and learn from it and move on. And I think that's important. And then, Tina, as you said, like surrounding yourself with the right people, great people. You don't have to do it on your own, and you probably won't be as successful if you try to. And then just always keeping who you are at the center of that. For me, it's quality in everything that I do and being good and doing good. Like, it was always about just leaving the world a better place. And so as I went into every obstacle, like keeping that in mind, you're able to navigate it and learn from it and move to the next stage. And I feel like that's propelled me forward a lot in my career.
I love that. Julia or Reagan, you want to go next?
Sure. I think for me, a lot of this just comes into your upbringing. So for me, my parents were both PhDs. My dad was a physicist at Stanford, and my mom's PhD is in Chinese linguistics, and she speaks like 5 different Chinese and is not Chinese and thinks she's Chinese. So I'm really the failure in our family, but just from an academic perspective. I've been called the evil capitalist since I was like 5 years old, because my parents always just wanted to make a contribution and didn't see any value in wealth accumulation, where I've been really focused on that since I was a small child for whatever reason. There's something wrong there. But I think the thing that's kind of kept me going over all the years is that, you know, I joke about my parents' intelligence, but there is not a lot of love in our family, sadly. I think that was just kind of part of they were focused on careers and not so much on, you know, social anything. And so I think it did kind of cultivate in me this need to overachieve forever. I think I'm never satisfied with anything and always moving the goalpost for myself. And so I think that has, you know, being a woman or not, like that's, if you're like that, you will be successful even if you never feel successful. So I think for me, the getting back up even when you fail, I like that you kind of say the message of failing. I think there's a level of crazy that comes with just kind of being really persistent and not giving up even when things go wrong, and some of that's hardwired and some of it's something skills you can develop, but I do think a lot of this stuff is about kind of your journey personally and getting back up again when things are rough.
Well, Julia, my kids are fans of yours and your company, and I know they're watching. So all my girls are watching, so they're excited to hear you talk about what you've done in your company. Yeah, Reagan, tell us, can you share with us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. Well, you know, as any entrepreneur out there knows, there's literally a challenge every single day as you're building and continuing to run an entrepreneurial business. So, and, you know, the theme is, there's a common theme here with what all the ladies have said, and that is, I think the overarching biggest challenge for me was gender bias, both overt and almost unconscious gender bias, which in my case led to imposter syndrome quite a bit, where, you know, when it's very hard to stand tall in your accomplishments when you're constantly being programmed to believe that what you're doing is a fluke almost, you know, and that it's, you know, so that was hard. That was a constant challenge for me. And I just sort of learned, I have this extraordinary life coach that I've worked with for a few years now. And she always says to me, you know, change the channel when I start to go down that rabbit hole sort of thing, which is, I didn't have that terminology when I was running Aiden and A, but that's definitely what I used to do. I used to just sort of stop and go, no, this is ridiculous. You know, it's not a fluke that I've accomplished this, and I'm here for a reason. But I had to dig deep to do that, you know, and on examples of it are, you know, I dealt a lot with China and extraordinarily misogynistic culture. And it was obvious that they just were not okay with dealing with me as a woman, as the head of the company and the boss. So, you know, I just had to put one of my male executives sort of out front, and in China, he was the boss and I was sort of the puppet master in the background, you know, pulling the cords. So, you know, that's an example of sort of how I got around it. And then very practical things like access to capital was very tough for me in the beginning. And I didn't realize that probably had a lot to do with me being a woman until I wrote my book, where I talked about all of the challenges and what I went through to build Aiden and Anae from, you know, an idea at a kitchen table to $100 million plus global brand. And I was not aware of it at the time, so it sort of didn't knock me off kilter. I just, you know, was determined to get the money, so I did what I had to do to get it. But when I wrote the book, rather than just being this woman that complained a lot in the book about all of the challenges, I went to the effort to research, you know, statistically what we're up against as women entrepreneurs as opposed to male entrepreneurs. And I had a few aha moments writing that book myself, where I was like, oh, damn, that definitely was, you know, happening because I was a woman, but at the time I didn't actually realize it. But yeah, so as you know, sort of overdone as it sounds, gender bias was definitely the biggest challenge I had, you know, growing Aiden and Anae, for sure.
Reagan, would you mind sharing one of your aha moments as you were writing your book? I just finished writing my book, and I just finished doing the voice, piece of it. So I was in the studio for I don't know if you did your own
I
audio
did.
piece of
I
it.
did.
Yeah.
I can't stand the sound of my own voice. So that was like a very tiring couple of days having to read my own book. But
It's very tiring. Yeah.
it is. It's harder than it looks or sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, look, there were so many, Mo, that it was just, reflecting on all of the things that I went through to be able to, the biggest one was probably the how difficult it was for me to raise money for the business, and I ended up, I had two private equity partners throughout the course. One was exceptionally fabulous partner, and the second one not so much. But yeah, just, I eventually got fired by my second private equity firm. Like, let's just call it, we didn't see eye to eye on the vision of the company. And I was quite outspoken about how I didn't think they knew what they were talking about. So when they had the controlling interest of the business, that's when they, said, okay, well, this isn't working, and out you go. But, I was told by phone that they needed a superstar CEO to take it to the next level. And then they proceeded to hire 5 middle-aged white men to replace me. So I was like, okay, well, is it really a superstar CEO or just a man, So, and again, that's my perspective, I know, and there'll be people out there going, okay, well, she's just a bitter, fired CEO. But I do think there's something to it. And to me, that just doesn't make any sense. It's a baby brand. I was even towards the end of my time at Aiden and Anae, I was even questioning whether I was too old to be running, a baby product company. So, excuse me. But yeah, it's.
We certainly should have a middle-aged man running a baby product company.
Well, it just doesn't seem obvious, does it? Like, it was, like I said, I was a middle-aged woman running it, and I was even questioning whether I was the right person to be making the decisions, going forward on different products and everything, because my babies weren't babies anymore, But, I
Sure.
always worry about talking about this stuff because it does often get construed as just complaining and, feeling sorry for yourself. But, there's enough statistics in my book, which sadly I can't remember off the top of my head because I wrote it a few years ago, that definitely confirm that what I'm saying is actually true.
Amazing. I want to take just 1 second. Mackenzie, I'm just looking at some of the chats, and Kenzie is asking if we can turn on the closed caption piece of it. So if that's,
I think I'm working on it. I believe that was
okay.
I had to click when I was creating the webinar. So if I can get it, I will. If not, thank you for that. And we will always have it moving forward.
Yeah, sorry about that, Kenzie. And also to all of our listeners, if you have any questions that you'd like to post on the chat, feel free to do so, and I'll ask, some of them. Reagan, somebody did ask if you could share the name of your life coach.
Oh yes, her name's Rachel Marsh. She's hard to find. But if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to make an introduction, because she is not of this earth, this woman. She's extraordinary. So I definitely wouldn't have got through being fired from my company without the support and help and guidance of Rachel.
Beautiful. Well, I can tell everybody, as I wrote my book, and I'd love to just hear, ladies, talk about this. One of the things that I talked about in my book was empowering my daughters to think that they can, and have the confidence that they can become the president of the United States and do anything that they can or want to do, and have that confidence. I'm just curious, were any of you ladies were you all brought up with that confidence in order to achieve and get to where you're at, or did you have to create that confidence yourself and rise through the ranks? And what did that look like? Julia, I'm gonna go at you with this one. Start with you.
No, it's a good question. I think for me it's pretty innate. I think there's just been tirelessness, and I think one of the questions that popped up that kind of answers goes back to this question too. I think someone asked about the if there's any advice that you've gotten over the years, or any stories that you about how you prove people wrong. I think the thing that always comes up for me is I have one of our board members, actually, she's amazing and is pretty hard on me in the best possible way. And so I think whenever I'm ruminating or feeling sorry for myself, or have kind of a narrative about something that's not going well, I think I've kind of always gone back to her. She's always using sports analogies, and so it's kind of always just about some version, and I don't pay any attention to sports, so they don't really resonate. I can't actually remember any of the actual metaphors, but it's really more kind of getting back up when you're in the ring is the idea. And I do feel like that advice has really stuck with me, and part of it is really just a drive that is insatiable, and I feel like I've had that since I was little, and I don't know that that's because anyone taught it to me. It's just kind of a part of who I am, for better or for worse. It comes with a lot of challenges as well.
Would any of you other ladies like to answer that question?
I'll just chime in and say that, like Julie, I feel like it's innate. And even as I watch my own girls, like the personality of who they were when they were born and who they are now, like they just have certain characteristics inside of them. And so I don't feel like my parents per se empowered me with the confidence, maybe even to the opposite side. I have very chaotic upbringing. And so it just gave me inside of the dynamics, I learned what I wanted. And then my internal self just kind of took that the way that it did and turned it into what it turned it into. So, but it was there since I was little, maybe not provided by the parents, but it was there.
Okay, I mean, in order to be in your position, all of you would have to just have some sort of confidence. Tina, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think it's somewhat of a gear that I certainly, I think I was born with it, and it sounds like my other fellow here as well. And I think surrounded by or wrapped around the work ethic that my parents showed me, I also am a big believer in leading by example. And now I see it in the generation. My daughter is now out in the workforce and a professional as well. And I see some of those same tendencies and drive that come naturally. So for me, I want to just continue to instill that and have others see, what can be done. And again, we talked about passion earlier, but that is one of the gears that I think drives many of us to our success.
Yeah, great. Tina, I just got to know this answer for myself. As a fan of traveling, and I consider myself a luxury lover of hotels, which one's your favorite Montage resort? It's like asking you which one's your favorite kid. I mean, like, I know that, but
They're favorites for different reasons in my short list. They are all obviously special. And, I talk about this in a really affectionate way because it depends on what destination or location you're going to and what your intention is. Is it family occasion? Is it business and pleasure mixed together? Is it, purely to relax? My favorite is Montage Laguna Beach, and perhaps because I'm nostalgic and it's our 20th anniversary this year. We just actually recently celebrated a big anniversary party, and really, that's the foundation and the root of our company. And it's, we're still one of the only luxury hospitality brands that's family owned. And you see that at every moment and every interaction and every experience there. And for me, that's what inspires me. So anytime I can leave our office in Orange County and go there, it fuels me up with just an amazing setting, but also the people that really bring our experience to life, and the ethos of our brand is there. So, I have probably a slightly different view, but speaking of views, they never get old there, and it's a really special. Those are our California roots there, and I'm very, very much of the mindset you always have to go back to your roots. That's what they are.
It is a special place for sure. Ladies, what is one lesson or word of advice having the time that you have now and having a bunch of listeners on that you would like to impart on our listeners?
I'll jump in here. I'd
Yep.
say, believe in yourself. That's, if you don't believe in yourself, then it's hard to have other people believe in you as well. Learn to say no, which I didn't early on. Super important to be able to put boundaries around what you're doing and the people that you're surrounding yourself by. Stay humble too, I think is super important, especially as you grow. It's easy to get carried away, and I've seen many people do it, and it's not good. Just, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, I can't remember who said that, but that it's true, right? So you just have to stay true to yourself and never give up.
I love that. I believe that.
I just remembered the thing she said to me, and also my coach says to me all the time, is the confidence comes from doing the thing that you're not confident at. And I love that. And I think that our team at Jenni Kayne is amazing. And it is mostly women on the executive team, and they all were pretty green. And as I was young when I was promoted into this position, and I think we all have kind of come up together, but it is being comfortable not knowing how to do things is really hard. I think, and that is the muscle that, developing those new muscles takes time, just like anything, but that is what builds confidence, is then seeing how far you've come with something once you're there, and kind of powering through when you sitting with the discomfort of feeling like you have imposter syndrome or all those other things, is kind of part of the journey, and it will get you to confidence eventually.
I love that.
I think you should never underestimate the power of what you can achieve. And that goes along with the confidence, but, you shouldn't second guess yourself. And I think along the way as well, there are sacrifices we have to make to fulfill ourselves and be rewarded too. And those are choices that we make along the way. And I think that's also always important to keep in mind. And it's also not always all about you. We have other people that we rely on, not necessarily for our success personally, but for their success. And I think the leadership aspect of that is also really important as we continue to grow and develop in our own paths.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
think also, oh, sorry, go on, Rainey.
Oh, no, I was just going to agree with everything everyone said, particularly Tina, as you were just talking about that. I think that that's absolutely true. And inside of that all, it's also knowing that you can have it all personally and professionally. And there's choices that are made there, but whether you're male or female, anyone listening on the call, you can have the career, you can have the family, you can have everything you want. There's going to need to be some balance inside of that. And that's for me where like being present and intentional coming in and staying focused. And, it really is like when I'm at work, I'm at work, and when I'm at home, and I give everyone my undivided attention. And then you have to find that little speck of time for yourself inside there to recharge, like you're saying, and stay focused so that you can do everything and be everything to everyone inside of that.
You can have it all is one of my most used phrases, because I believe that. So true.
You can have it all, is what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you can. So,
And what is all?
well, everybody has a different definition of that. And, generally, I think in general terms, it speaks to life in general, your work and your family and all dimensions of what a fulfilled life looks like. So
How challenging is it to be a mom and an executive and balance that? Obviously, I don't have, I'm a dad, but how challenging is it to be a mom, a wife, and, a CEO, a founder, an executive?
Really challenging.
but it's interesting.
Really, really challenging.
I bet, yeah. Reagan, you were about to say something.
I was just going to say the other thing too is it's important to know what you don't know. Like I was only successful because I was able to surround myself with people that were way more talented and smarter than I ever was or will be. So being comfortable to put your hand up and say, I don't understand that, or how does that work, or talk me through that. You know, I was a sponge. Even though I was the founder and CEO, I was learning constantly because I was very comfortable saying, I don't get that, but, you know, I want to understand it. So I think that's super important as you're building a business too, to know where your strengths are, be okay with the fact that you're not great at everything. And your job is to find the people that are great at the things that you're not. That's very important when you're building a successful business.
Reagan, I have a feeling that I read your book and I copied all of your chapters in my book.
That's a different conversation. With some,
I literally talk about that as well, and knowing, you know, where your limitations are, I think is one of the greatest assets for anybody to understand, and to surround yourself with really intelligent people. Give them the ability, and give the people that you surround yourselves the ability to give you advice, to talk to you about it. But then ultimately, you as, you know, the owner, the CEO, have to make your own decisions, right? And that doesn't mean you're going to agree with everybody that surrounds you and that you listen to. But I think the ability to listen and the ability to surround yourself is the most, you know, is really important piece to get, you know, ahead of life and to build an amazing company and an amazing brand at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there so we're reaching the end of the hour. Is there anybody on the chat that has any other questions that I haven't answered? I think I've gotten into Julia, what's next for Jenni Kayne in 2023 and beyond?
Well, we're thinking about spas. I guess I can say that much. So we love self-care. I think the questions around life work balance, having kids and trying to, I mean, it's impossible. I have 4 kids who are under 4 years old. I have a 4.5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 6-month-old twins. So I am the person who can tell you it is impossible to do all of those things. And I think at Jenni Kayne, we're really trying to figure out how to bring self-care and spa to life for our audience, and so that's kind of what's in the works. We have Oak Essentials, which is the skincare brand that has nice products for that, and then Jenni Kayne Home. We do projects with Aero LA to do homes, so we're trying to integrate home and spa, hopefully in the near future. So
I'm curious, you know, this is really more for Julia and Reagan, because I know the real estate world, but in today's global economy, and, you know, with the rising prices and inflation and everybody, you know, what the Fed's all trying to do, are you guys experiencing in your sectors, you know, challenges because of the economy and inflation and higher interest rates? Or is it just, you know, people still have all the money in the world and are spending it on consumer products?
in our experience, I think more and more attention is being paid by consumers to their home. I think people are really interested in, they care more about home decor. You know, everybody's got the Zoom backgrounds, but also just more entertaining. I think people are really caring about that more than they ever have historically, and recognizing that it's an expression of who you are is how your home is decorated. So we're not seeing a slowdown, but we're early in our home journey. So I'm sure companies at scale are probably hit by it more than we are.
Reagan, do you see that at your company at all, or?
Yeah, with Aiden and Ave and the baby space, it's like, you know, mums especially will go without to give to their babies. So, you know, being in the baby space, I actually started Aiden and Ave during the last recession, and, you know, grew exponentially, you know, like triple growth every year sort of thing through that recession. And that's because people are just always willing to spend money on quality products for their babies. So, you know, so far so good, but, you know, I don't think we're through the worst of it yet, quite frankly.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I'm sure that you produce a lot in China, so I'm sure
Yes.
you've seen what's happened, you know, with the manufacturing to China and all of that stuff has caused, I'm sure, some supply chain stresses and all that kind of stuff.
Always a challenge, but exceptionally challenging at the moment. Yes.
Amazing. Ladies, before I kind of close this up, is there anything any of you would like to share to our listeners that you, throughout this day, you're like, oh, I'd like to just share one last thing, or I wish I would have shared, you know, my aha moment, my insights, something to, you know, to the people listening before we close out our first session?
Be nice to
just-
yourself.
Yeah, I was just gonna
What
say,
was
like,
that?
Be nice
ahead,
to
Julie.
yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. I feel like it just everybody should be nice to themselves. It's hard to do that.
That's so funny because I was going to say almost the exact same thing. I was like, be yourself and have grace and care with yourself, because so often we're the hardest on ourselves. And like you said, it's hard to be and do all the things we're trying to be. So be kind to yourself and others.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
I
on
can't-
that, go
Yeah.
ahead, Tina. Sorry, go for it.
No, that's
You're up.
amazing. I can't top that.
It's hard to top that, right? I agree with that. Yeah. Well, thank you all for your precious time. I know your time is valuable. Absolutely amazing. I hope that for our listeners this was valuable. I know I learned a lot today, so I hope you all learned a lot today. It's our first event, our first of many of Share with the agency. If you liked any of the portions today, I would love for you to go comment your favorite part of our conversation today on the agency's last Instagram post at the Agency RE. And 5 people will be selected to receive an agency swag package that we'll send to you. So, we really look forward to that. We're looking forward to the next. And to all 4 ladies, thank you so much for your time, your insights, and congratulations to all of you on your success and what you've done and accomplished.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mo.
Thank you, everybody.